Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go. Welcome. Today, I wanted to talk about some tips for people that will be following the Lindsay Clancy case. I will not be going into all of the details. Sometimes people on replay get upset by that, and there are other streamers that cover all of this in detail. For me, I want to give you information without causing possible secondary trauma, if at all possible. So, in general, just listening to certain details of a case, it can have a person imagine, re-experience, a person can end up having an a response to that. And so I want to be cautious. I want to be careful. I've been covering true crime here on this channel since the right before the Alec Murdaugh case. So I covered a little bit of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard. I didn't know StreamYard, and so I just talked about the testimony. I didn't react to any of it. While I enjoy reacting to videos, I want to be more cautious in the future about playing things that bring up a ton of emotion. And if I could go back and do things again, there are certain videos that I reacted to that I don't know if I would react to the actual video now. I might just describe what's happening, encourage people if they want to go and watch it that they can, but I just want to be protective of things here on this channel. So that is what we'll be doing today. Let me know if y'all have any general questions. This case is going to be heavy. And for any individual that has experienced postpartum depression, if for any individual that has a loved one that has experienced any type of mental health concerns, I do think it's interesting that there are 12 women and 6 men seated for the jury. We do not know what the makeup of the final jury will be, but I'm thinking it might be at least half women. I'm not sure. And I don't know if that helps or hurts her case. I know that both the state and the defense, I think they vetted these jurors. And there are some jurors that if they had their own history of postpartum, if they had a family member that had a negative reaction to medication, there were things that came up during the jury selection process where some people just were not going to be a good fit for this jury. This jury is going to see things that they will never be able to unsee. And sometimes talking about it together is enough to be protective for a group, for a person. Going in knowing this is a person's role. So the jury, they have to watch all the evidence. They have agreed to, in order to decide this case, they are going to look at all of the evidence. And having that purpose or that role, that can sometimes be a protective factor. We are just all out here being nosy. We are interested. We are, I don't know exactly where I fall. I need to hear the state's case. I need to hear the defense's case, and then I need to hear the rebuttal. And it might still be a toss up for me at the end of all of this. There are some details of this case that have me understanding the defense's side, and then I'm also understanding the state side as well. Josh Ritter did a great legal breakdown of this. I know the lawyer and also JD Explains. Those are all lawyers that have covered this. There is a psychiatrist, Dr. Yosef. He went on Nate Eaton's channel and he did an interview there. During that interview, I think he has some ideas about vaccines or some ideas about all medication in general. And so I didn't agree with everything he said on that. But his original video talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, because he breaks down how from that first prescription of Zoloft, her body might have had a toxic response and her system never recovered. And her providers never gave her system a chance to recover. And that really an inpatient stay for about a week or two would have been helpful to have 24/7 monitoring. She would have been safe, the kids would have been safe. Sometimes people don't want to be hospitalized, and hospitalization is often the last resort. And yet, if she's experiencing postpartum psychosis, we've attempted over, I think, 12 medications in 4 months, and she's still not stabilized. I think an inpatient stay would have likely been helpful. In my state, they have so we have, it's called Sunshine Lady House, where it's not an inpatient hospital, but it's like a group home where people can go for brief stabilization. And I don't know if it's still open. There were some funding issues with it in the past, but it was a lower level of care where somebody would live in this group home for a few days, for a few weeks. It was covered by their insurance. It was considered, I don't know if it was, because it was a hospitalization, but it wasn't a that highest level acute psychiatric hospitalization. This was a level down from that. And I wish there was something like that available. It's my understanding that Lindsay Clancy's family attempted to communicate their concerns. I have a whole other video where I went over the malpractice lawsuit. I am aware that Patrick Clancy, Lindsay's former husband, he has remarried. I wish him all the best. During this upcoming trial, we are not going to hear his 911 call. And we are also the autopsy photos of the children are also going to be sealed. There are 911 calls that I've heard where I can, to this day, I can remember a portion of the call that just broke my heart. When I think about the Donovan, when I think about with the Mackenzie Shirilla case, Donovan, his mother, that the sound she made on the 911 call. I can also go back to there was a case out of Las Vegas. And so I understand that that was sealed, and I wonder if more will be sealed in the future. It often is a part of public record. It is often disclosed, and we get to hear that. This is a very sensitive case, and it was the victim because these he was the one that did not want it released, and the judge did seal that. And so I get that. Thank you for asking questions. Welcome, welcome. Dr. Berry, can you talk about the distinction between postpartum psychosis and how it can differ from an eventual diagnosis of bipolar disorder? And that's where we would need time because also, I don't know that she was experiencing psychosis before the first introduction of Zoloft. So Zoloft can, an SSRI, serotonin reuptake inhibitor, in individuals that have family histories of bipolar disorder, there are some people where an SSRI can trigger mania. And or somebody can just have a negative reaction to a medication. So there is a black box warning on SSRIs for young adults. So for individuals a certain age, I don't know if it's 25 and younger, but that particular medication can actually increase certain thoughts in that population. I've worked with a lot of people that have done fine on Zoloft, Prozac, on different SSRIs. Or if they haven't tolerated it well, they didn't reach the point of thoughts of harming self or harming others or psychosis. Um, I wonder if she's still on medications. I am going to wait to hear from the mental health professionals that have assessed her after this incident. I do also wonder how the jury will view her being in a wheelchair. She has a lifelong injury from this incident. And so a lot of people have asked, will the jury have more sympathy for her? Will they? I don't know how the jury will see any of that. I hope they stick to the facts of this case. The facts of this case are what matter. And the big question that will come up is, was she criminally, like, can she be held criminally responsible for her behavior? Was the medication interaction, the mental health diagnosis, did it impair her ability to understand right from wrong? And from the state side, the state is going to say that she methodically planned out to have enough time to do all the things. That is what the state is going to say. The defense is going to say that she was not, even though she's texting her husband, even though she might have a coherent text, that psychosis, a person might not be actively psychotic the entire time. The fact that this likely took some time, this incident took some time, and she never stopped or changed her course of action. I'd be interested to hear what she told different providers before this incident and then after. And it's my understanding that there might be some reports of some psychosis before this event. I don't know. So that's where we're gonna have to take a look at this case together. I personally, I am not going to watch every moment of this trial. I am a full-time psychologist. YouTube is what I do for fun on the side. I appreciate you all in this community. I will watch recaps. So I know there will be people that will recap certain things. I am going to watch the mental health testimony. So the individuals that were treating her, the individuals, because I want to see the cross examination of those individuals, because the defense is going to say, and I don't know if there's been any motions to limit their ability to say that the doctors could have, or that there are allegations about the standard of care. That typically, if somebody is saying they're having thoughts of harming their children, that they would be placed on some type of precautions, and there would be a safety plan. So I don't know if there was a safety plan in this case, because I've worked with individuals that a part of their safety plan was for them to not have unsupervised contact with children until they were completely stable, until there was a period of time where they were no longer having certain thoughts or experiencing certain symptoms. Uh, Back to Lisa's question about bipolar disorder versus postpartum psychosis, that's where I'm going to have to hear the mental health testimony, because I don't know that she showed any signs or symptoms of bipolar disorder prior to being prescribed the Zoloft. And but she was not able to be stabilized on, because they attempted Zoloft and then they changed to Prozac, and then they started prescribing heavy sedatives like trazodone. They attempted Seroquel, which is a technically an antipsychotic, but it can also be prescribed to stabilize mood. They also prescribed amitriptyline. They prescribed all of these medications. I am not the medication doctor. I'm a psychologist. I'm an expert in the mental health side of this. A psychiatrist, which is a medical doctor that gets additional training to prescribe medication. They also can do therapy. They would be able to speak more on that. And I think they are going to have, I think the state is going to have somebody that's saying, yes, we believe based on these things that she does not meet criteria for NGRI. And then I think the defense is going to have experts that say, no, based on what she said, based on these interviews, based on all this information, we believe that she did not understand the wrongfulness of her actions. And it's going to be up to the jury, because then after the defense's case, I do believe that the state is likely going to have rebuttal witnesses to rebut whatever the defense expert says. There was a case where the state did not do a rebuttal case after the mental health experts, and the individual was still convicted. Chloe Driver. That was a case, I think it was in Georgia. They were living in Georgia at the time of the crime, and she was convicted. This was a similar situation. She was, but her case also included some jail calls after the fact and some odd behavior after. And I wonder if the jury held that against her during, and if she hadn't done those things, because I think the jury just thought she was jealous and that she understood that what she was doing was wrong, and that taking yourself out and somebody else, that that's still a crime, even if she did have a mental health condition. All right, let me see. Let me see. Thank you. If you sent sunshine, I'm not sure what that was. Let's see. All right. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Yes, so Dr. Yosef is very knowledgeable. I really enjoyed his video. It was very informative. I think he also like doesn't believe in vaccines and stuff, or like so he during his interview with Nate Eaton, he went down a path that I personally don't go. But yes. Yes, a lot of people resonate with Dr. Yosef's explanation of things. Yes, and this is very important. Not every medication works the same for every individual. And often you would have so if we're trying all these medications, at some point we might say, None of this is working. The individual is getting worse and worse. At what point do we say, let's let their body clear the medication? Because a lot of these medications take a while to get in your system and a while to get out. And it's my understanding that what happened is the doses were increased, medications were changed, and there was not a period where her system was able to recover. Yes, yes, yes. Do you have any videos on postpartum in your library? Yes. So I have that one linked in the description. I did a video talking about Andrea Yates, Lindsay Clancy. This was closer to the time when all of this happened, and also postpartum depression. There are lots of different ways to treat postpartum depression, and there is a new medication that was recently approved by the FDA. New approval, FDA, post postpartum depression. I'm gonna find it. And this is not medication advice. People should always discuss any information with their medical with their prescriber. But there is a oral pill that's for 14 days for adults that are experiencing postpartum depression. And and so it's once a day for 14 days. Symptoms can improve in as little as 3 days. There is a Yale study. I will make sure to add this study to the description as well. Okay? Yes. Do you think those of us that aren't parents can understand this case? Yes. So I think anybody can so even a person hasn't been pregnant, I think a person can understand the details of this case. I don't think now if somebody has experienced postpartum depression, they might have more sympathy, they might have more of an understanding, I don't know, or for individuals that have had bad experiences with psychiatry. Okay. So some people have just had bad experiences with psychiatry where they haven't felt listened to. They were tried on multiple different things. They felt like, things weren't getting better. So individuals that have experiences like that. So I haven't had personally negative experiences with psychiatry, and my heart still goes out to the children and to Patrick and even to Lindsay, uh, because it sounds like she wanted help. This wasn't a case where a crime happens and after the fact, the person's like, "Oh, I was mentally ill," and there's no attempt at treatment. There's none of like she was attempting to get help. And so I definitely have some sympathy there, but there is a legal definition of insanity. And I think the state does not feel that she meets that, and the defense does. And I think they're both going to have experts that are going to have different opinions, and we will see where things go. I would be interested to know Google searches. Um, I'd be interested to just hear now how she talks about what happened. Did she black out and not remember what happened? Like I'd be interested, was there an auditory voice? Was it a command auditory hallucination? I would just be interested to have more information about what happened. All right? And she's the only one that will know. Because this is all just based on her report of what happened, but you would be able to have people's observations of her. I think the state is really gonna harp on the fact that because I think Patrick the ex-husband is gonna be the first witness. The children's father, I think, is gonna be the first witness that the state calls. I think that's gonna be very emotional testimony. I'll probably watch on replay. So I like that on replay, I can fast forward through things and, I can speed it up if I need to, or I don't know. Like, when you're watching live, it can feel different. So I will probably watch his testimony on replay, but I think the state is going to try to harp on, did you hear anything different in her voice? Did she sound normal? Like, was there any indication that she or the children were in danger? And I think the state is going to harp on that. I think the defense is going to come back and say, and especially with their experts, especially the mental health experts, because he's not a mental health expert. So a mental health expert could say, yes, a person can be actively psychotic and sound completely normal for a 2-minute phone call. So I think, and then the state is likely going to have an expert that has the completely different opinion. And so this is going to be a lot. Buckle up. Okay. Be careful if you become very, very committed to one particular side or another. Please be very, very careful. Yes, thank you for saying this. Creative Chaosify mentioned that Lexapro was a lifesaver. And so Dr. Yosef has a clinic where he helps people detoxify and focuses on purpose, holistic things. He's really trying to go in a more holistic way. For some people, that is the perfect fit. There are other people that does not work for them because there are additional components to their mental health. And I've worked with a lot of people that medication is literally, along with therapy, along with improving social skills and sleep and eating better and doing all those things. But in order to do all those things, they needed medication. That medication helped them engage in therapy and not miss therapy because they could literally not get out of bed. And so I didn't completely agree with all of it, everything he said on Nate Eaton's podcast, but it is what it is. Medical invalidation. And that's in general, and I can't say whether that's what happened in this case, but that is often where a person can feel like they're not being heard, understood, and listened to by their medical providers. That the medical provider has an agenda, like, and not, but like sometimes it's like they just prescribe medication. They're not going to taper off. They're not like they're if there's a problem, we're going to throw prescriptions at it. And that's not always helpful. And so, yes, and medical misogyny is real. Sometimes women, and even by like a female provider. So sometimes women are just treated very different. Also, the fact that she was a nurse. So sometimes medical professionals treat other medical professionals different. I'm going to do a follow-up video on high functioning depression. So I have started a second channel talking about neurodiversity, and I want to do a video talking about the myth of high functioning. Because when you hear high functioning, you just because the person can go to work, just because the person can manage their symptoms, it looks like they are, it does not mean that they're not a risk to themselves or others. Because when the person is, they can't get out of bed. They can't eat. They're not sleeping. When all of those things are happening and a person is not able to function, that person is often going to get more support and help than somebody that's labeled high functioning. Now, I think by the end of by before this crime, it sounds like Lindsay Clancy was not, like, she was struggling. It was very clear you would not consider it to be high functioning. But sometimes a person can think, oh, they're high functioning, they don't need as much support, or like they start thinking other things. I've also, with postpartum depression, I've had some clients where it was hormonal, like their hormones. So they also talked with their gynecologist, and sometimes they had to have some hormonal things addressed on top of anything else. So I'm not a medical doctor. I refer to the medical doctors and we go from there. All right. Yes. Yes, definitely okay with trying a holistic approach, but I don't think me personally, I don't think every person needs to, like, discontinue medication. And so, yes. Yeah, so I just started it today. I literally just started a second channel. I will make sure to put a link to it in the description and then also in the comments here. So the new channel is talking about neurodiversity, and it's not gonna be about cases or crime. I'm gonna go back to mental health. I'm still gonna do this channel. So this channel will continue to twice a week talk about cases and true crime, but I'm going to also have a separate space that's purely mental health education to talk about those topics as well. Yes, somebody mentioned consistent therapy and SSRI was life changing. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, second channel. I know. Yes. So navigating neurodiversity, that is the second channel. Yes. Um and we will talk more about that during the video that follows this one, because later today we will be talking about late diagnosis of ADHD and or autism or any type of neurodivergence. When that is diagnosed late, there can be a lot of feelings for parents, for the individual. There can be a lot that goes along with that. So that will be the next video. I'm so glad that we are able to talk about this case. I do want to encourage you to protect your mental health because some people try to knuckle through it, like they can tell that they're not breathing. So that's where when I cover things, I will sometimes breathe. Make sure as you're watching, if you are going to watch it, have some water. Okay? Like just make sure to take a break and eat. I like the channels that have like cat breaks or that are able to debrief and process. If you're watching over on um, a channel that has a ferocious chat, sometimes closing out the chat. So when I watch over on Law and Crime or Court TV, I can't see the chat. The chat is very triggering for me. And so please close the chat if you're going to watch there. There are other people that will be streaming it. And so you might find another person to stream it. Please also respect the creators because I know there's some creators that will not talk about this case just because creators have to protect their mental health too. I will be covering I might cover Patrick's testimony once I take a look at it and just anything that stands out to me. I like recapping testimony versus watching it with you all. So with my recap, I will not be playing clips. With the mental health professionals, I might play clips. I'm not sure. It just depends on how that testimony goes. We might do some clips of the mental health professionals. But I am this case, it's here. It feels like we've been waiting for a while for this trial, and, my heart goes out to the family. Um, it does sound like Lindsay actively wanted help, and she already has a horrible penalty of having to live with this for the rest of her life. If she was found not guilty by reason of insanity, she would have to go to a mental hospital for stabilization. And it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. She could remain in the mental hospital for the rest of her life. If she ever was released from the mental health hospital, there would be conditions, often requiring ongoing therapy. They might court order medication. So there are things that can happen if a person is found not guilty by reason of insanity. If she is found guilty of the top charge or a lesser charge, I do hope that she still has access to mental health treatment. And because normally for a crime like this, they almost always go on a watch for themselves just because it is just such a horrific thing, especially since she did do an attempt on herself as well. She is likely going to be emotional at points. Her lawyer mentioned that she might have to step out during certain parts of testimony, But the judge appropriately said that he would make sure to talk to the defendant and have her waive her right to be present. Because what they might do is they might just ask for a break during some things, or if she did need to step out, the judge is going to excuse the jury and then talk with her and make sure that she understands that she's willingly waiving her right to be present without some other remedy of a recess or something else, because legally she has the right to be there. And I think the judge just wants to protect the record. The attorneys have been a little nasty with each other. So as you watch, breathe. Okay. The state is very passionate. The defense is very passionate, and they are both kind of they're being very direct, very, very direct. And I don't know if it's because they're I think it's Boston. I think it's Boston. They are and the judge is not having it. So the judge is interrupting. But this is likely going to be a very emotional case. So some signs that you might need to take a break from it are if you are going about your daily life and you can't get it out of your head. If you are going to bed at night and you can't sleep because you just keep replaying this. So be careful watching some of these things right before bed. So I really encourage, like, watch something fun, something happy, something, but in general, just general recommendation. I'm not your doctor. I'm not your psychologist. I'm just some lady on the internet that knows a lot about psychology, and we're just over here talking mental health education in general. My general recommendation is to be careful of like what you watch right before you go to bed. And then just to be aware, I think we're all gonna hug our kids a little closer. I think we're all just gonna be just very mindful of our friends. If you know somebody that is struggling, I know there was a time in my family where I was concerned about about family members, and they were in therapy. And I just let them know I loved them, I cared about them, I would be with them through it all. Because we often don't sit with people in the midst of their pain. And we often try to make it go away. So when somebody is grieving, one of the best things you can do is sometimes just not say anything at all, or say, I don't have any words. Just be with them and not try to make the person feel better. Now, if it's a close friend, you might be able to ask them, like, hey, I'm here for you. Let me know if you just need to chat, if you want to laugh, but I'm here for the tears. I'm here for it all. Because vulnerability, being able to be vulnerable and open when we are hurting, that allows connection. I wish that Lindsay or anybody that was in her shoes, if they are not feeling safe, that they actively communicate that. And I'd be interested to see what the records show. And when the doctors testify, because there's the civil trial as well, they likely all have attorneys. I could be wrong, but they probably have attorneys. Their attorneys might be present, and they've already given depositions and everything, so they're aware. Um, I would just be interested to see how certain questions were answered, because my understanding of a standard of care is if the person keeps getting worse and worse and worse, was there a safety plan? What happened with consideration of long-term stabilization? Sometimes the insurance company denies it. So people get the care they can afford. They don't always get the care that they need. So when I worked on an inpatient hospital, so I worked at Virginia Treatment Center for Children. That's where I did my pre-doctoral internship. And for 6 months, I was on their child unit where we would have kids age 5 to 17 could be placed on the unit for mental health stabilization. The average stay was anywhere between 1 day to maybe 2 weeks. Longer than 2 weeks was rare, but there were cases where maybe we're trying to transition them to residential, and we can't let them go home. And there's funding that comes up, or the hospital just decided to eat the bill of like, we can't send this person home. There is a placement coming. It's just a week. But inpatient hospital stays are very, very expensive. To pay out of pocket for an inpatient hospital stay, it's thousands of dollars a day, thousands of dollars every single day because they're getting 24/7 care, medication. The therapy they get isn't necessarily better than when I was doing like when I would meet with my clients on the inpatient unit, the main goal was helping them safely transition home, helping them understand what got them into the hospital and prevent it in the future, identifying triggers, identifying areas of need, and helping provide resources and support. But every day we would have medical billing would be in rounds. And medical would say, okay, this insurance company needs to know what's happened in the last 48 hours. This insurance company, they've denied, we can't appeal, but like they've denied for today. So if we don't have an appeal by 3 p.m., this individual is going to have to go home today. Mondays were the worst because in an inpatient unit, 2 days of stabilization was sometimes considered, like that the person was stable, but that was the weekend, and there's no school 'cause, the unit I was on the kids were given the opportunity to go to an inpatient unit school, and so sometimes we would see behaviors at school. So if the person had a fine weekend, but we were concerned, but, like, just let them go to school, and let's see, because then if things happened at school, then we would be able to add that to the authorization to if the person did need to stay. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And I have a whole other soapbox. I'll stand on it briefly today that our system, unfortunately, it I don't think it should be for profit personally. Not for personally, because people profit when people don't get care. And saying no to care, the company makes money when they say no. But what if that's not the right thing? And professionals have to fight and argue and make sure that they're appealing decisions if it needs to be appealed. And if it's not, making sure that you're aware of the resources available in the person's community. So I was trained as a psychologist, but sometimes I operate like a social worker, where if I have a client that's unhoused, I'm a part of our session might be helping look for housing options. Now, that's not all of our session, but how can I do CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, for a person that doesn't know where they're going to sleep tonight? The problem is they need somewhere to sleep. Let's address the problem that they have. And I write it up in a way where I get paid, but I don't operate strictly from a clinical role. I work um, as a mediator to help get people the resources and supports that can hopefully help. But please, as I mentioned, take care of yourself as you watch. This is going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be weeks. I think it's going to be weeks. If you notice it's having an impact, there might be certain testimony that you switch. So I'm not going to watch the medical examiner's testimony. I'm not going to watch that. Um, I know enough of the details that I don't need to know the rest. And so please, please, please take care of yourself. I think that's very important. Let me know if you have any general questions, general things that you all would like for me to cover. And let me get that link to the new channel because I believe it's just Dr. Patrice Berry. There you go. Let me do at. Let's see if that works. Okay, I know I sent it to my mom. There we go. Copy. I'm not able to go live on that channel yet, and so I will share once I can go live over there. But the other side is just going to be mental health only, and this side will stay mental health and true crime. Thank you for talking about Canada. Yes, our sick care system is not I appreciate people that respect my boundary. So my boundary is I'm not going to go into the details. Feel free to ask. It's okay to ask. It's okay to be upset that I don't do it. I'm not going to do it. And so the links to the civil case are in the description, but I will put them in the chat real quick. Yes, I saved the description. So this is my coverage of the lawsuit. Okay. All right. So my next video is going to be talking about, and it's still on this channel because I can't go live on the new one yet. We're going to talk about late diagnosis, ADHD, and autism. I so appreciate you all. Be kind. Don't do crimes. And I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.